I'm attracting attention here. Although he's level 14, so if he attacks me, he's foolish. Well, I'll give you a quick demonstration of some quantum powers on this guy. There you go. Quantum rules. Anyway, let that be a lesson to that guy not to come near me during a demo. DLC 7 is called Origin Crysis, and really, this DLC has been in the making for almost 7 years. Now, how could that be? The game's only been out for just over 2. We just celebrated our 2-year anniversary. Well, the reason was when I first came on board this project, I started kicking around like what the story was going to be, and one of the most important things that I talked about with Jim Lee and the other folks here on the development team was that we needed to integrate players very, very, very much into the universe. We didn't want people to feel like, hey, I'm going to create my own hero, and who are all these other thousands of people running around? It would really kind of kill that feeling of being in the DC universe if you see all these other people you don't recognize hanging around Batman and Superman and Lex Luthor and Joker in the Watchtower and the Hall of Doom. So I had this idea for this backstory called Origin Crysis, and of course we didn't go with the name at launch, we just went with DC Universe Online. Now what we've been doing is we've been peppering in kind of different DLCs have had different hints of this Origin Crysis storyline. In fact, we've been telling a story in 2 directions. DLC 7 was actually the paradox that was caused by, or DLC 2, sorry, Lightning Strikes, was paradox caused by the events in DLC 7, which wouldn't be releasing for a year and a half after that. So we've been having a lot of long-term planning that's been going on in terms of getting this story going. But what's happening now is future Batman and future Lex Luthor have jumped down into this thing called the Nexus of Reality, which is at the center of the planet, something Brainiac built to try to assimilate all the 52 universes in the DC Comics canon. And they've jumped down there and they started messing with time and space and creating paradox, and they've been trying to erase the origins of key heroes and key villains. This was the main storyline of DLC 2 Lightning Strikes. And in DLC 3, they jumped down into the Nexus, and then in DLC 7, we're finally answering what was the cause of all of that stuff. So what they're doing is they have these councils of Batman and Batman and Lex Luthor's different paradox copies that they've gathered from alternate realities because time has splintered and new realities and timelines are popping up all over the place because of their meddling, and they're trying to counterbalance each other and erase. The heroes are trying to erase villain origins, and the villains are trying to erase hero origins, and they're both trying to sort of countermand each other. So this takes shape in various pieces of content that we have in the DLC. The first, the high-end stuff that people have been clamoring for are the 2 raids that we are introducing with Origin Crysis. One is in the Nexus of Reality, and it deals with the Council of Batman and the Council of Lex Luthor's pulling artifacts like, you know, this clay statue that would eventually turn into Wonder Woman. What if that was pulled out of the timeline, you know, and wasn't there to become Wonder Woman? Well, she wouldn't exist. And so you have to go into the Nexus and return the artifact or the origin item that really triggered the, you know, that iconic coming into being, and putting it back in the time stream to preserve it. And then oftentimes you're doing something to swing the pendulum in the other direction as well. So we have the Paradox Wave and the Nexus of Reality are 2 brand new raids, very hard. Only a few people with legendary status have actually beat them on the servers at this point, so people are going to have to chip away and get some more gear to get up to that level of power. Then we have 4 operations, 2 for heroes and 2 for villains. Operations are basically 4 player pieces of content where you get together with 4 of your friends, and these send you through time and space. You're going to go to Central City, battle all the Paradox Reapers that are there. You're going to talk to Flash or Professor Zoom, and they're going to fire up the cosmic treadmill and send you back in time. And you're going to these alternate realities. There's literally, we've built this different version of Metropolis and this different version of Gotham City, and we asked ourselves these questions. What would happen if you went back to that fateful night in Crime Alley and you actually, you know, prevented Bruce Wayne's parents from getting killed? What would have happened to that version of Gotham? What would that family of Waynes be like at that point? And so we send players back to look at a Gotham that is completely free of crime, right? And you're a villain going back there going, this is wrong. This should be my playground, and it is absolutely not my playground anymore. The Waynes have you know, cracked down on crime and made a non-corrupt city or an uncorrupt city. And then you're going to determine, well, what was the cause of that? Well, it all stems back to Crime Alley. So you go back and you learn that future Batman actually prevented his parents from being killed by Joe Chill, and it led to this new reality. So you as a villain go back there and you make sure his parents do get killed by Joe Chill. And not only that, future Lex Luthor comes back and becomes a mentor for Bruce Wayne. So the heroes play the flip side of that. They go back to a Gotham City where Batman is totally corrupt and evil. He's actually jailed Jim Gordon. Commissioner Gordon is put into jail. All of the heroes have been run out of town by Batman, who's gone evil under the mentorship of Lex Luthor. And eventually what will happen there is you go back to Crime Alley and you learn, okay, this is what happened, and you go back with future Batman, prevent his parents from being killed, and then giving Bruce the mentorship he needs through his parents to have this uncorrupt Gotham. So there's sort of this really neat loop that goes on with that. And there's also one of those very same operations for Metropolis, where you actually go back to you travel back to a Metropolis that is either completely dominated by Lex Luthor and Superman is under his thumb, or you go back to one where Superman is good and had an influence on Lex, and Lex is actually a good guy, and they've made this perfect utopia Metropolis. And you find out that traces back to the moment on Krypton when Kal-El's rocket gets sent off. Something happened to the rocket, and you have to go and figure out what it is. And as a hero or a villain, you tip the scale, and again, you create one of these really cool loops.